welcome to the romance track here at Continual. Tonight we are talking about holiday romance. What holiday? All of them, because it's what we do with romance, and boy, is it a good excuse to tell a great story. So before we launch into that, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, and we will start with Melody.
Hello, I'm Melody Johnson. I write sci-fi and paranormal romances. And in terms of holiday themes, I write anthologies with my First Coast romance writers, my fellow writing group, and several of our anthologies are romancing the holidays.
Very good. BL.
Hi, I'm Gail Maxwell. I write mostly contemporary and paranormal romance. I have quite a few holiday romances. Most of them are characters from other stories that I kind of like to throw them into that situation. So most of mine aren't full length. I think I have one full length book that centers around Christmas, but I love throwing characters I already know into that situation because it kind of makes everything new again, and it's all different.
Okay. Selah.
Hey, I am Selah Janel. I write a lot of things that probably aren't considered romance, a lot of horror, fantasy, dark fantasy, but I have a lot of romantic elements in some of my work. I do have I'm not going to call it a guilty pleasure because I don't feel guilty about it. I love holiday romances as a reader. I actually have one hopefully coming out soon. So I am dipping my toe into that genre myself and looking forward to it.
Great. VJ.
Hi, I'm VJ Allison. I'm from southwestern Nova Scotia, Canada. I write mostly contemporary romances set in Nova Scotia, especially along my most recent one is set along the Fundy Shore of the highest tides in the world. I do have a paranormal horror romance out, Eternity's Gamble, which is at the very bottom over here. I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday, and that's what Eternity's Gamble was written for. It was written for the Halloween, but I do have a December Christmas / romance out, a short story with Ecstasy Books, and I'll be talking about that later. As a reader, I like the Halloween romances. Anything that happens around Halloween or anything creepy is always fun, and I like horror books anyway. Mysteries too.
Okay, Layla.
Hi, I'm Reyne. I write LGBTQ contemporary romance and romantic suspense. Kind of accidentally wander into holiday romances, not necessarily always the theme, but similar to what BL said, having the characters in those situations in both contemporary and in romantic suspense settings. And so probably because I think my favorite holiday movie is Die Hard. So I'm gonna do those kind of holiday stories. But I do have one that just came out that's a sapphic holiday romance called Over a Pearl.
Okay, Barbara.
Hey, I am Barbara Evers, and I write fantasy. And I'm like Selah, my stories aren't really romances, but there are romantic elements within my stories. So there's always a romance part to the story plots. I also write some contemporary fiction, and I have a few short stories that are kind of Christmas oriented. Actually, in thinking about this particular panel, it dawned on me I should write a holiday romance. I have not done one yet, but I love holiday romances, and starting in November especially, I just gobble them up. And so I really ought to dip my toe into that pool and do something with it.
Very good. Victoria.
Hi, I'm Victoria Sue, and I've been writing male romance for 9.5 years now. I write in just about every genre except cowboys because, as you can tell from the accent, I really don't know anything about cowboys. But then I write a lot of werewolves, and I've never met a werewolf either. So, imagination is a wonderful thing. And my Christmas stories are always one of two. They're either MPreg, male pregnancy, and it's all the cute stuff and the Christmas babies and the tinsel in strange places. And I also do Daddy Little Age Play Christmas romances as well, which is what I'm bringing out this year.
Okay. And Dawn.
I'm Dawn Dehel. I write under the name D.S. Dehel. I write contemporary historical. I write just about everything, but all romance related. And I have 4 Christmas short stories that sort of run the gamut. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And I'm Gail Martin and Morgan Brice. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasies. Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. As both Gail and Morgan, I've had stories in the Canham Castle series, which is a holiday series set in a fictional castle and town in England. And that's Christmas at Canham Castle, Ringing the New at Canham Castle, Love and Valentine's at Canham Castle, Trick or Treat at Canham Castle, and Midsummer Mischief. My other books tend to have Christmas themes in some of them, but usually the characters are still busy fighting ghosts, werewolves, vampires, and other monsters. So they get to celebrate kind of in between the battles, as opposed to having a solely Christmas or holiday themed book. I have to work on that. Now, several people have mentioned favorite holidays, but I want to put a little bit of a twist on that with this question and say, what's your favorite holiday to celebrate? And then what's your favorite holiday to write about? Melody?
I would have to say my favorite holiday to celebrate is Christmas. I guess that's kind of typical, but I always feel like there's some sort of magic from Christmas, probably from childhood, having believed in Santa and, opening presents, and now, from children to adulthood, having that family atmosphere. So Christmas is definitely my favorite time of year. Also the combination of all of the holidays. Also because of the great movies. I am obsessed with, this is going to be a little strange, but I'm obsessed with holiday, like Christmas movies that are horror. So like Gremlins and Anna and the Apocalypse and Black Christmas. I love like a mean Santa who's like trying to kill you, but then, there's romance too. So
Okay.
I don't know, there's something about that I absolutely love. And but my favorite holiday to write, I absolutely love writing about Halloween. My characters in in the anthologies that I write are part of my Witchy Business series. So there are 2 covens. The one coven is more traditional and the other coven is more modern, and they get into little hijinks on Halloween day. And so yeah, it's fun putting my little modern day witches in Halloween and watching them kind of attempt to perfect their magic.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm the opposite of Melody. I love to celebrate. I used to love to celebrate Christmas, but it's just so much. It's so much. So now my favorite holiday is Halloween because it's like one and done. It's not as much work. It's all done. You can put everything up the day before, take it all down. I love that. I love to write about Christmas though. I love putting, like I said, even a new couple into that situation, because I feel like it adds a lot to the story. You can add so much chaos and so much, will the families get along? How do they all celebrate? Is it, there's just a lot to it, I feel like.
Cool. Selah?
Yeah, so I'm kind of similar. If anyone knows my personality, I'm all Halloween all the time. I love horror. I love creatures. I love monsters. I love it all. Halloween is the best. Yeah, that is definitely, that's the holiday that I'll like start pre-gaming in like August. So that's my, I don't necessarily go like all out all the time decorating or things, but I'm definitely always like watching stuff, writing stuff, celebrating, love it. And I have written a decent amount of Halloween short stories. Not all of them are published, but I have done some of that. But as far as writing, it's weird because I grew up as a pastor's kid in a small town. So just like Thanksgiving, a good chunk of November through like Epiphany was not my own. My life was dedicated to every community event ever, school, church, everything ever. And then as an adult, I spent a lot of time doing seasonal costume work. So in the off season, I would do a lot of holiday gigging, whether that was making costumes or acting. I have been an elf. I've been talking animals. I've been all sorts of stuff. So Christmas is a lot. I like Christmas. I don't hate Christmas. I'm much more restrained about Christmas in my personal life. I've had a lot of Christmas in my life. But I like writing it for whatever reason. I don't know if it's like I just want to try to resolve my feelings about it, or I like exploring crumbled cookies, trying to find their feelings and being happy during the season. I just really like a lot of the emotions and the concepts of Christmas. I like the concepts of togetherness and all that. I also love a lot of the lore. I know someone else was saying about like the dark aspects of Christmas. I love like Krampus and the Yule lads and the Yule cat and all the lore. I know we've talked about this on another panel, Gail, but I like digging into that stuff too. But I definitely am that person who will curl up with a wonderful life and It's a Wonderful Life and like swoon over the phone scene and like just kind of want life to be like that, but without the economic plummeting.
I definitely understand what you mean about it being a lot. The worst Christmas of my life was the year I handled Christmas for a shopping plaza. Oh my God. I was so
Yeah.
done with the season because we had been doing
It's
it for like 5 months. It was
it's
horrible.
rough. And I feel like I'm that person that if anything really weird or awful in my life is going to happen, it's going to happen in December as well. So it's a lot. It's being exhausted plus a month of like hard personal anniversaries. So I probably write to like make myself feel better about Christmas.
Okay, VJ.
My favorite holiday is Halloween. I love the spookiness. I love just everything about it. I like taking my kid out trick-or-treating. I love handing out treats to the kids, I love seeing all the kids in costumes. A lot of them are so cute. The little ones are absolutely precious, and the older kids, they can have the candy too. I don't care. But the jack-o'-lanterns, the flakes, the Vin, and all this other stuff that's going on right at that time of the year, the Day of the Dead, it just tickles me to pieces. I don't really have a favorite holiday to write about, though. I've written one for Halloween, my horror book, and then I've also written one for Christmas. I guess the main characters are more agnostic than anything, but it's they still celebrate it to the Santa side of it is what it is. But I don't really have a favorite holiday to write about. I just write whatever comes to me when it comes to certain things. I'm weird, I guess.
Okay, Layla.
So favorite holiday to celebrate would be Thanksgiving. We are foodies, and so give me the food holiday. Give me the food holiday. We were also in California for 15 plus years, and it's not cold at Christmas. So that kind of kills a lot of that mood versus it was still pretty reliably fall at Thanksgiving. So it's just that, it's like where everything lines up correctly and people actually really don't work in my field that I do for a day job over those 4 days. So it was the break before the end of year crunch happened. So it's really just kind of that last big breath and a lot of good food and a lot of found family, which kind of I think leads into what I like to write, which is actually the last few I have been Christmaka. So a combination of Christmas and Hanukkah, because I've got a lot of blended families going on. And so, you know, they're celebrating and honoring both holidays. Everyone's having a good time, lots of cooking still within that, even in some of the romantic suspense context. So
Very good. Victoria.
To write about Christmas, but to celebrate, it has to be bonfire night. Now you guys have probably never heard of this, or you might have done, but it's certainly something that's never crossed the pond. On the 5th of November, 16 something, early 1600s, a guy called Guy Fawkes tried to assassinate the then King James, and he had a number and I have no idea what it is, by setting a gunpowder plot in the cellars of the Houses of Parliament for the official opening of Parliament, and he tried to assassinate him. And he didn't succeed, but ever since then, on the 5th of November, England, well, all the UK just like comes to life. It's everything from your own bonfire in the backyard with your own fireworks, and it's penny for the guy, and kids make these straw figures and they take round and people, you know, give them money for it and stuff like that, you know, pennies and things. But it's all about family and coming together and having jacket potatoes and parking, and which is an English kind of dessert, and like a cake, gingerbread cake basically. And it's fantastic. And since, yeah, I've lived in the US for 10 years, and yes, they do occasionally have some close-ish like British groups that do the bonfire night, but I miss it so much. That's the holiday that I miss, because it was like the holiday when I was growing up. It was the exciting stuff when you were a kid and you held the sparklers and all that stuff. But yeah, that's my holiday, bonfire night.
Very good. Barbara.
My favorite would still be Christmas, like a lot of the others here. And mainly that's just because when I was a kid, my mother made it so magical. Christmas just rests here in my heart in a way that it's hard to explain. But everything was so much fun and so magical and so, I don't know, even Santa Claus was this incredible thing. I still have this soft part of my heart for Santa Claus because of my mom. And I have tried to carry that forward with my kids, and we've kind of got a spread out family now because we've got his kids and her kids, and we're raising grandchildren, and it's kind of crazy. But at some point, I know I'm going to see everybody. They may not all be at the same time, but I'm going to see everybody. And that's pretty rare when you've got a large family with, we've got 5 kids between us. We've got 8 grandchildren. There's a lot, to try to get them together. So Christmas still is kind of the soft spot in my heart. I never really thought about what holiday I write the most about. I mean, I have a couple of Christmas stories, but I wouldn't say I write a lot about Christmas. I do write some ghost stories though, so I guess I would veer more towards Halloween for writing about, but they're not really Halloween stories. They're more supernatural stories. So, yeah, I need to think more about that. And like I said at the beginning, I definitely have realized I need to dip my toe into writing a holiday romance or some holiday stories anyway, because I love them and I read them all the time. And it never occurred to me, hey, let's write a Halloween story. That's a cool idea. Why don't I do that?
Dawn?
So in my house, we go hard for Halloween. We probably decorate more for Halloween than we do for Christmas. But I, like Barbara, I don't really write toward a holiday, but I have the most Christmas stories, in terms of a pure holiday. But when I was thinking about, they're all really dark. Sort of, yeah, they're romances, but there's always this thread of some kind of terrible thing running through. So Merry Christmas. Yeah, so it's scary Christmas stories, dark Christmas stories. I think maybe that's the best way to put it. That's what I write.
Okay. Well, I've always said I'll celebrate any holiday as long as there's food, as long as there's food. So, you know, I'm pretty holiday agnostic when it comes to that. But I really love both Halloween and Christmas, and we are that house in the neighborhood that decorates. You know, with Halloween, if we're home, we have an 8-foot inflatable dragon with movable wings and a 6-foot inflatable dragon. And we've got this life-size inflatable hearse with the headless horseman and a vampire in the back that sits up and lies down. And the adults take pictures when the kids are getting candy. So, you know, we're that house. And for Christmas, we have all the lights outside. We have the reindeer. And my personal feeling on Christmas lights is that if you can't see them from space, you need more. So, and that holds for the tree as well. Buy the pre-lit tree and then put another 4,000 lights on it. Come on, it's kind of dim in here. So, you know, we'd over decorate. We do like 3 trees and a ton of stuff. But I love that light in the darkness thing with Christmas, especially. Aside from all the other wonderful things, the food and the family and the presents and all that kind of stuff, I love the light in the darkness because it's so dark and it's so cold and you don't go out. And this is why I try to leave my decorations up as long as my husband will let me get away with it. Because there's really nothing after Christmas that's very exciting until you get to Valentine's Day, and you don't really decorate for that. So I'm holding out for there should be a new midwinter holiday that has lights. As far as writing, I've incorporated Halloween and Christmas into a number of stories besides the Canaan Castle stories. They're not Christmas stories per se, in that you look at the cover and go, oh, that's a Christmas story. But since most of my books have ongoing, evolving relationships with characters that get together in the first book and then continue to have adventures, the calendar moves and they find themselves at Christmas and Halloween, and we get to see them celebrate it. And that's also a great opportunity for some of the seasonal promotional event. You know, when people, I was just part of a Halloween advent calendar that had like 31 different authors in it, and all the stories had Halloween in them. And a lot of times those kinds of multi-author opportunities will come up where we all write a Christmas story or we all write a Halloween story. And I love doing that. And I love reading all those stories. So I don't know, I'd be hard pressed to pick a favorite for either reading or writing because I just love both of them so much. So, you know, there's a running joke. Hallmark movies are absolutely wonderful. But there is a running joke that there is one Hallmark movie and they just switch the cast from year to year. You know, and that's not completely true, but there are many, many similarities, let's say, from one Hallmark movie to another. When you're writing a holiday romance, how do you approach it so that there's a little something different, maybe a little twist, maybe a little something unexpected? Even though we all go into it knowing that it's a holiday story. Melody?
Yeah, so I've written several Halloween stories, and that's kind of like one of the challenges is, yes, it's a Halloween, yes, it's a romance, but how is this one going to be different or stand out from the last one I wrote? And some of the ways I like to do that is thinking of what is my favorite part of the holiday and making a different aspect of that holiday shine. So for Halloween, my first one I wrote is a haunted, basically a haunted house. Literally, her ex-boyfriend's house is haunted by a ghost, and she is forced to come back and help. I shouldn't say forced, but she will, you know, she decides to help him out of the goodness of her heart because they have unfinished business. So, so that was a fun play on that. Another one I wrote was like, I love doing corn mazes. And so another story I wrote, they were attendings or guests for a zombie-themed Halloween, or zombie-themed wedding in a corn maze. and they got lost trying to get there. So, so I love another one. They do like a seance in a graveyard. So I love picking out aspects of Halloween, either things that I like doing myself, or I always wished I had done, or I always wish could happen on Halloween for me, and plunking my characters into those situations.
Very good. BL?
Sorry about my son. He's bored,
that's okay.
obviously.
At least he's got clothes on. There have been situations where people have forgotten somebody was recording. And it happened to us, but I have heard of it.
So the first holiday book that I wrote actually was based on the very first book I wrote was pretty serious. It's new adult, but it's like two teenagers that are thrown into really bad situations. And I felt really bad for kind of not giving them a total happily ever after. So then I had them go on a Christmas vacation to Tahoe and just, have it be a little happier for them. And then of course they get a Christmas tree. They pick out a Christmas tree, and then one of them gives the other a puppy. So it's, they had to have their nice Christmas. I do have a Halloween short that I kind of reversed. One character is really into ghost hunting, and the guy that's in love with him is terrified of ghost hunting, but he goes with it because he really likes the other guy. So what I did in the short is I had the guy that is Jason is the one that's not afraid to go, but he's terrified of like the haunted house, like the attractions that you'd go to. So of course his new boyfriend takes him there, and he is just horrified and miserable the whole time. But that's kind of their fun Halloween activity.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know you were saying about lights in the darkness. I tend to embrace that metaphorically when I write about Christmas. I think, having been someone who's been through a lot of hardship during the holiday season, I like to see characters embrace that. The story that's going to be out hopefully soon is very much that I kind of call it my holiday story for people who have difficulty with Christmas or who get tired of that season, where I take some of the similar beats, like we were talking about Hallmark movies. There's definitely my lead female character is like has hardship and has to move from the city back to her small town. But I take care that the story is as much about friendship as it is about romance. And there's some magic in it. There's a dryad in it. So I have some sort of fairy elements as well. But it's as much about her regaining her footing and feeling better about herself. And then I introduce the romance, not late in the book, but later. It's not the guy isn't the thing that makes her happy, or it isn't the magic band-aid, let's say. It's helps her. And there's a lot that helps her to feel better and to move her life forward. But it's not the magic, hey, yay, boyfriend, happy Christmas, all is great. Because other things happen that, there can be good things about Christmas and there can be bittersweet things. So I kind of maintain that mix. I like to play with genre conventions a lot. I have a zombie Christmas short already out called Candles that has a relationship. Obviously, that does not end as happily, but it's very much about a couple and the woman's son's trying to play family and hold out against the zombie apocalypse during Christmas and have a happy Christmas despite that. So I like playing with that hope and light in the darkness a lot.
Okay, BJ.
Okay, my first holiday romance is basically an epilogue to my debut novel, Stricken. Sweet Child of Mine is the twist that I have. It's not really exactly a romance, it's an affirmation of their love because, well, she's pregnant and she's due in a couple of weeks, and bam, Christmas Eve, she goes into labor. He's at the office. There's a bunch of mishaps that happen, and I kind of leave it as a mystery to if he gets there in time to see the birth of their child and stuff. That was an interesting one to write. I had that one done in like 8 hours. the paranormal horror one is about a corn maze, a mysterious corn maze. 4 of us, Dawn is one of them. We kind of decided to write our own take on a corn maze with a portal in it and a creepy gatekeeper kind of thing. Eternity's Gamble turns into a game where they're caught up in it. It's a game of life or death, and they're best friends, and along the way they start sharing their feelings for each other, that they were really in love with each other and all this other stuff. And at the end, you wonder if they're going to actually be separated for the eternity or if they're going to be allowed to be together. Oh, it was a fun book to write, I'm telling you. I didn't think I had it in me to write a paranormal book, but I did, and it was a lot of fun. It was. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've got an idea for another one. I hope to start soon, as soon as I finish the next 2 books in the Feathered Tartan series, which is what Stricken and Sweet Child of Mine are. So.
Okay. Layla.
I think so. I've got 4 that I would say fall in the holiday romance bucket, but they're all different, and I think that's because the holidays never the thrust of the story. There is something else going on plot wise, and the holiday part of it just happens to weave through. We've got, you know, a hijacking of a company Christmas party. That's the diehard gender flip one. You've got someone doing a tour of their favorite restaurants. You've got 2 attorneys doing a year-end deal, and then, you know, and then one that's not even at the holidays, but they missed it, so they're going to celebrate it because they're trapped together in a spot. So like, it's more that, you know, what keeps them different is the circumstances around them. But I think what they do share is it is that moment where the characters breathe, which is something I have to force myself to do, because if it was, you know, my druthers, it would just be go, 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 go. And so those are the moments where the characters kind of stop and breathe, and sink into it and kind of get that light in the midst of a lot of chaos that's usually going on.
Okay, Victoria.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this while you've been asking everybody else's questions, and I have to say that my readers don't want difference at Christmas. They want the absolute traditional. My 2 most popular Christmas books are, and maybe it's different because it's the actual guy giving birth, you know, so that's different, but they're not for the MM readers. These are my readers anyway. My 2 most popular Christmas books are, one, Omega, who is running away from an abusive ex, and Christmas Eve he ends up giving birth in a stable. Now you can't get much more traditional than that. That's the first one. And obviously the farmer that owns the barn is this grumpy old guy who thinks he's going to be on his own forever, but he isn't, because, you know, he falls in love with the Omega and his baby, and everything's cool and cuddly and wonderful, and we've got, you know, all that sort of stuff. And my second thing is, my second most popular one is where I've got a guy who is hiding away because Omegas in this world, at this setting, they're not supposed to be on their own. And he goes into labour early on Christmas Eve, so he has to make the decision of trying to get into the car and driving himself to the hospital because he knows he can't do it on his own. And a vet, like an animal vet, not a soldier vet, finds him when he's driven the car off the road, and he actually helps him to deliver the baby. He's used to cows and pigs and all this sort of stuff, but he manages it with humans as well in this instance. And those 2 are I wrote the vet one like 6 years ago, and come Christmas, it's still up there with the sales. Everybody loves it, and they love people giving births in stables on Christmas Eve and the whole thing. And that's what my readers want. They want more of the same. And I can, you know, as many of those sort of things as I can write, that my readers will be like, yeah, bring it on, I want some more.
Okay, Barbara.
So, when you asked this question, I was like, because I kind of have mentioned I really haven't written, holiday romance per se. But if you look at the first book of my epic fantasy trilogy, there is a holiday that I kind of patterned after Christmas, and anybody reading it probably would figure out it's supposed to be their Christmas version or something like that. However, it's more of just a winter holiday, and it's where everyone gets together and they have a feast and all that. And the elements that, there is a romance element in that trilogy, because Adana, who is the heir to the throne, has been sent to stay with her allies for her protection until she can achieve the throne. And she's become quite besotted with the heir to the throne of the kingdom where she's now staying. And there, it's kind of a forbidden sort of thing for them to even be together, because the two heirs cannot be married. And so it's all about, in that particular scene, the guy who everybody thinks she's going to end up with, kind of manipulating and taking her time, and this other girl that anybody who reads this does not like, taking up the time of Kiffin, the other guy. And really the scene becomes more about finding out more about her mother, who has passed away from the father of the guy who really, really likes her. So it's more about her growth as a person and her recognizing that, hey, we celebrate this holiday this way, and they don't do it that way here. And that's kind of weird for her. So her feeling that whole fish out of water thing. My Christmas short story, I don't think we qualify it as a romance because it's a marriage gone awry. But it is a very different kind of story, because it's called Cedar Tree Revenge. Okay. And it involves two different cedar trees at two very different Christmases, and how those cedar trees affect this particular character in the story, and the impact it has. And that, and the problem with her husband at this point is he knows the story, and yet he kind of pushes the buttons, because it kind of ruined her life trajectory the way she was supposed to go. So not exactly what I would call a romance, but maybe a dying love at that point, as opposed to a budding love. But I'm listening because I want to start writing my own romances here for Christmas and holidays and whatever. So I'm taking notes, guys.
Okay, Dawn.
See, my first Christmas story was a reworking of the Nutcracker. And that was the challenge, because how do you take, what is kind of dark, actually, children's story, and turn it into something steamy. So I had a lot of fun with that. I'm playing with dance because I set it around the ballet. And so, it's a true romance. Clara gets the Nutcracker Prince at the end. So my second one actually is a New Year story. So it starts immediately after Christmas and goes to New Year. And that is an American who's sent to Britain to snag a lord. So on the surface, it's very, very straightforward. And then you get to the end and you're going to have to go back and flip, because nothing is as it seems. But it's still a Christmas story, and she still has a romance, but it's not the romance she wanted. And then one that's a reworking of Swan Lake. I think the unexpected in that is that Santa Claus is a bit of a badass in there. He kicks butts, and when he does finally appear, it was also the first time I ever really worked with a shifter, and I had to pick a bird, and I don't even like birds, so that was kind of awkward. And then my new one is actually set in 1985, which is so much fun to go back and just sort of really, it starts in a mall, and I think all of us probably worked in a mall, at Christmas. Um, and I think what's different there is that Santa's a jerk. Like, he's a real jerk. His son, however, is kind of hot. And it's the first time I ever really played with North Pole and what it would be like, and reindeer shifters, and it just was just kind of very 80s, totally 80s by the end of it. So so I think if I had to put up, just the unexpected, again, taking it places you're just never gonna hopefully predict.
Okay. Yeah, I think mine are different just because I lean heavily into the paranormal piece of the paranormal romance. So there's always a major plot in addition to the characters getting together or evolving their relationship. And so there are shifters and werewolves and psychics and mediums and vengeful ghosts, and that kind of, even at Christmas, I did do a Krampus story. There's always that heavy paranormal piece. So maybe if you crossed Hallmark with the Sci-Fi Channel, you'd be closer. But that sort of is built in. Well, folks, we have blown through our time, so I want to do a quick lightning round here and go around and let everybody say very quickly where we can find you online. And if you have a new, recent, or upcoming or holiday book, let us know. Melody?
Well, you can find me online on my website, authormelodyjohnson.com. I'm on social media, mostly on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. And for holidays, if you're interested in my books, you can look up my anthologies, which are Romancing the Holidays, volumes 1, 2, and 3, and An Autumn Embrace, which is a little less holiday, but has that that autumn theme to it, and that one's a little steamy.
Okay. And BL?
Okay, you can find me at blmaxwellwriter.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram mostly. This was, I don't know if you can see it, my last year's Christmas book. Oh, that's so hard to see. And it's paranormal. Actually, it's called Haunting Destiny. And then those are my ghost hunters. They finally get married, and like the little ghost that has always helped them kind of helps them get married. And this is this year's, and it's just a super cute. Two guys, one guy rents a cabin in Tahoe just to get away from it all, and the other guy decides he's going to go to Tahoe and ends up in a snowbank, and they both, it's a typical stuck in a cabin for the week book, but those are kind of fun. I always think it's fun to put them in those situations and see how they survive.
Okay. Selah?
Yeah, so I'll always start with, you can spell my name SelahJanel. Find me at selahjanel.com. I am author SJ on Facebook. Instagram, I'm SelahJanel99, and on Threads as well. Blue Sky, I am Selah Janel. For releases, my short Candles is already out. That is my zombie apocalypse Christmas story. For something on the lighter side, sweeter side, Holly and Ivy is coming soon. It used to be a short. I got the rights back, so I've expanded it into a full-length novella. That will be out. I'm super excited. That's more about Holly going back to her small town life. Finding out that her childhood friend Ivy is a dryad that lives in her parents' Christmas tree farm. Hijinks ensue.
Okay. BL? BJ? Sorry.
No worries. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter on VJ Allison 1974. Oh goodness, I'm on MeWe, Amazon, BookBub. My blog is Word Processor Romance, Cats, Kids, and Creed on Blogger. I'm on Twitter /X. You can find me at Ecstasy Books and Decadent Publishing as well. My most recent holiday book was Eternity's Gamble, which came out in 1st of October 2 years ago. This is the cover for Sweet Child of Mine, which is Feathered Tartan Book 2. it's the continuation of Ewan and Marty's story from Stricken, which is up here. If you can see it, I don't know, my backdrop doesn't like me too much. I'm hoping to get a couple more holiday romances in at some point, but we'll see. And my most recent release was Honestly, which is down here, and it's an LGBT romance. So I'm just trying to think, is there anywhere else? BookBub, I'm on there too. Follow me everywhere. I don't care.
Okay.
Stalk me. Thank you.
Layla?
Yep, so I am online at www.laylarayne.com, all the socials at Layla Reyne, and Over a Barrel is the book that came out today, actually, as we're recording this. It is a sapphic romance, so two women, 56 and 43, so also mature, that they meet on a plane for the first time, get a little spicy on the plane, and then find themselves on opposite sides of a year-end deal in New Orleans. And so they, have to pause the spicy until the deal closes, and it's all the tension that builds up, and it's in the Table for Two series, which is foodie oriented. So they're negotiating a whiskey distillery sale, and lots of visiting a favorite restaurant that's in the town too.
Nice. Victoria?
You can mainly find me on Amazon as Victoria Sue. I have a Facebook group, Victoria Sue's Crew. I have two Christmas releases coming up, and the first one is on the 28th of November, and it's called Buttons, and it's part of Daddy for Christmas multi-author anthology. The second one is going to be mid-December, and that's part of a huge anthology by 50 authors writing about the Snowed-In trope. As a charity, a 3-volume anthology, and it's all wide choose, which obviously is more than one person. There's no jealousy, you get to choose all of them, and it's a mixture of MF and MM and multiple M's and multiple F's, and I'm very excited about that one.
Very good. Barbara?
Okay, so my website's barbaraevers.com. You got to use that letter, the V in the middle, because there's actually quite a few Barbara Evers out there, believe it or not. And so I use Barbara V. Evers. And when you look for me on social media, I have a Facebook author page, Barbara V. Evers Author. I'm on Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, TikTok, YouTube, and all of those. Look for Barbara V. Evers or Barbara V. Evers Author. I'm on Goodreads and BookBub and Amazon. So you can find me all sorts of places. That story about the cedar trees I was talking about is in a short story collection of mine called Pieces of Her, Being a Woman is Not for the Faint of Heart. And so you can find that on Amazon. And the epic fantasy trilogy I was talking about, I actually just re-released it. I got the rights back and got new covers and everything, and finally got the last cover in just in the last few weeks, and it is now available and everything. So it's the Watchers of Manaya trilogy, and you have the Watchers of Manaya, the Watchers in Exile, and the Watchers at War. If you go to my website, you can subscribe to my newsletter, and I do a free short story every other newsletter. So, and in December, it's going to be a holiday themed story. I just haven't figured out exactly what it's going to be yet. So last year I did a story that if you subscribe, you can go back to past issues. And it was a story my mom used to tell us about the year Santa Claus lost his whiskers. But anyway, so it's more of a fun story, but y'all definitely got my wheels turning as to what's going to be in my newsletter in December, because it's going to definitely be a holiday story with hopefully some twists and turns in it.
Very good. Dawn?
The easiest way to find me is at www.dsdeal.com, and that's DEHEL. I have links to all my socials there. I'm absolutely everywhere. or just on any of the social media, just put in, looks like Dehel. That's me. My Christmas story, the one that's set in 1985, and it's about Santa, comes out December 8th, and it's called Christmas Wrapping, and it's our own pre-order, so you can go ahead and pre-order it now.
Okay. And I'm pretty easy to find at gailmartin.com, morganbrice.com. I'm on pretty much all of the main social media sites as one or both of those names. So if you spell them right, you'll find me. I do have a couple of new Christmas short stories coming out. I've got Shine Tonight, which is a Badlands related Christmas story, ties into one of my series in the Coastal Magic Convention's Holiday Bits and Bites charity anthology that'll be coming out at the beginning of the new year. And then in the MM Book Buzz holiday event, I'll have a brand new story as well. And so I'm looking forward to that. Well, folks, thank you so much for being here with us and being fantastic panelists. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more holiday and more romance coming up on Continual. So we'll see you online.